and has been prepared by Fernando and Quizano, and the presentation slide are based on the book mentioned towards the end. The book mentioned towards the end, that is 2008 Prentice Hall publication, Microeconomics by Pindyck and Rubenfeld. By Pindyck and Rubenfeld. Okay, all right. So next, we turn our attention to what is it that we are likely to discuss in this topic. So we'll discuss the concept of supply and demand. We'll discuss the concept of market mechanism, changes in market equilibrium, very important concept of elasticity of supply and demand, then short and long run supply elasticity and long run and demand elasticity, understanding and predicting the effects of changing market conditions, and what happens when government intervenes in the market in terms of controlling the price. For example, if the government fixes the price of something at X, Y, or Z, then does it have any impact on the market? Before I start a formal discussion on this particular topic, let me tell you that this particular topic is the core principle of economics. Everything in economics can be explained using the demand supply framework. So that is why every single word that we will utter in the class today, you must try and understand them. Otherwise, it will be difficult for you to follow the lectures that follow later on. So first, the basics of demand and supply. Now, you will notice that there is something written here which is already said. The supply demand analysis is a fundamental tool of economics. It is a fundamental tool of economics, and it is a very, very powerful tool of economics. Why is it fundamental and why is it powerful? Because this supply demand analysis can be applied to a wide variety of problems. Problems which are interesting, problems which are very, very important. Just to name a few, suppose you want to understand and predict how changing world economic conditions affect market price and production, you can do so using supply demand analysis. You know, we are in the middle of a killer pandemic, and uh, so many changes are happening around us, both in terms of political, cultural, social, and economic. So, economic changes which are happening today can be analyzed in terms of supply demand analysis. Second, if you want to evaluate as to what would be the impact of government price control, or what if the government fixes minimum wages of workers? What if the government supports prices? What if the government gives incentives to producers? What will happen? What will be the impact of such changes? So I'll give you one example of each of these four: price control, minimum wages, price support, and production incentives. Say, for example, price control. Some of you may be aware of uh, something called kerosene oil. Kerosene oil. I'm not I have spelled kerosene. I think it is, maybe this is the spelling. So please pardon me if I have incorrectly spelled it. Now, kerosene oil is highly inflammable, and this is basically used for cooking and lighting purposes. By whom? Can you tell me by whom?
By the households,
By the poor people, sir.
Yeah, by by
poor households,
by
Poor
by
people.
poor households.
poor
Yeah,
households.
yeah. So that is why the government has fixed a ceiling, fixed a price for kerosene oil, and no dealer can charge a price which is more than the price fixed by the government. For example, suppose the price fixed per liter of kerosene oil is 30 rupees. If a kerosene dealer charges more than 30 rupees, then that would be illegal and he is liable for prosecution and even imprisonment if found guilty. So what happens because of this price control, that you cannot sell beyond 30 rupees or you cannot charge beyond 30 rupees or 20 rupees or 40 rupees? So that is one example of price control. Till a few days ago, a few months ago, even diesel prices were controlled. But nowadays, diesel prices are partially opened, partially controlled. So, how do they affect the economy when the government intervenes and controls the price? We call it administered prices. Administered prices. Can you guess as to why do we call it administered prices?
Sir, because it is controlled and governed by the government.
Yeah, because it is administered by the government. The government administers the prices. Okay. Next, minimum wages. You all know that there is something called the Minimum Wages Act, isn't it? So, under the Minimum Wages Act, the employer must pay a minimum wage is specified under the law to a worker who works for 8 hours a day. Suppose this minimum wage is 400 rupees per day. You are then not supposed to pay less than 400 rupees. If you pay less than 400 rupees, then you will be committing a crime. You will be prosecuted for it. So that is an example of minimum wage. Can you give me an example of price support? What is price support?
So does it refer to how the government fixes prices for agricultural products? So if
Yeah,
that product
exactly.
doesn't sell, then the government will provide that money to the farmers.
Very good. Very good. Excellent answer. So you have something called the MSP. What is the full form?
Minimum
Sir,
support,
minimum
minimum
support
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 price.
price.
Minimum support price. So this minimum support price is for let's say wheat is 1500 rupees per quintal. 1500 rupees per quintal, which means that any farmer is assured of a minimum of 1500 rupees per quintal of wheat. If a trader is offering a price less than 1500 rupees per quintal, then the farmer can take his produce to a government designated market, which is generally called Jharkhand Bazaar Samiti. What do we call it? Jharkhand Bazaar Samiti. This Bazaar Samiti is controlled by the government of Jharkhand, and there are such Bazaar Samitis in other states also. So if a farmer brings his produce to Bazaar Samiti, then the government agencies like Food Corporation of India is supposed to buy that wheat from the farmer by paying a minimum of 1500 rupees per quintal. So that is price support. So how does price support impact the economy? Remember that whatever we are discussing is in terms of evaluating the impact of government policies, evaluating the impact. And then finally, production sales. Can anyone give any example of production sales? Okay, so one example of production incentive is SEZ. SEZ or Z. What is the full form?
Special
Special
economic
economic
zone.
zone.
Economic zone. And if you are a manufacturer located in a special economic zone, then you will be given certain incentives. For example, you may be exempted from paying certain taxes. You may be given uh, land free of cost on lease or at a minimum rental value. These are incentives which the government can give to producers. Also, if a producer is willing to locate his factory in a backward area, then also government gives some incentives. Then the government's flagship program, Startup India, also gives uh, various kinds of incentives to entrepreneurs. Basically, these are what we call production incentives. And what are the economic impacts of such government policies? We can analyze all such impacts using what? Using supply demand analysis. So that is what I meant. Then next is determining how taxes, subsidies, tariffs, and import quotas affect consumers and producers. So let me first clarify whether you all know the meaning of these terms or not. So taxes, you all know, I'm sure. What is subsidy?
Sir, subsidy is the amount which government pays on our behalf.
Yeah,
So it is
it
a
is a
form of a
negative tax. It's a negative tax. So tax actually raises the price, subsidies reduce the price. So if the price of, let us say, kerosene oil fixed by the government is 30 rupees per liter, 30 rupees per liter, and if the actual cost of production of kerosene oil per liter is 40 rupees per liter, then who pays the difference of 10 rupees?
government.
The government. That is what we call subsidy. So subsidy is clear. What is tariff? What is tariff?
Sir, quantitative barrier or imports.
No. Tariff simply means taxes. Basically, tariff means taxes on imports or import duty. Of course, it can also mean something else, but right now tariffs are basically used for referring to import duty. That is the taxes which we pay when we import something. So that is called tariff. And import quotas, what's that?
Trade
Sir,
restriction.
non-quantitative trade barriers. Trade
Quantitative.
barriers.
That is called quantitative restriction or trade barrier. Of course, tariff is a trade barrier. Quotas are also trade barriers. So import quotas simply refer to a policy where the government fixes a maximum amount beyond which you cannot import. For example, let us say that there is an import quota of 100 cars per month. So the maximum number of cars that Indians can import per month is 100. That is called quota. So this is what is the significance of uh, demand supply analysis. So let us start with the supply. So basically, we show supply through a curve, which is called the supply curve. And this supply curve shows the relationship between two variables. What are those two variables? Quantity of a good that producers are willing to sell and the price of the good. For example, here, price and quantity offered for sale. Quantity offered for sale. Now, if the price is 20 rupees, let us say that the producers are willing to offer 200 units of a product, let's say wristwatches, 200 units of wristwatches. Now, what if the price, same wristwatch, same quality, same thing, go from 20 rupees to 30 rupees? Now, all other things being constant, What is your best guess? Whether the sellers will sell more or offer to sell more or offer to sell less if the price goes up?
Sell
More,
less.
sir.
Sell less.
More, sir.
At higher prices, whether the sellers will offer to sell more or to sell less.
Sell less.
One student
Sell
has said
more.
that
More.
Sell more,
less.
sir. More.
More, sir.
Okay, most of you are saying that they will offer to sell more. Why?
Because the cost of the wristwatch is same and price has been increased, so they will earn more profit.
Absolutely brilliant. Very good answer. Absolutely fantastic answer. So that's why I said all other factors have remained the same. When all other factors have remained the same, it means that the cost of production has also remained the same. Cost of production means the money which you have spent on producing the product. So if that has remained the same, price has gone up, then it would make sense to sell more. So let us say when price goes up from 20 rupees to 30 rupees, the producers are willing to sell more. Say from 200, they want to raise it to 250. Likewise, if price goes from 30 rupees to 40 rupees, what do you think will happen now again if we assume that all other factors are constant?
It will increase.
Producer will like to sell more.
Yeah. So this 250 will go from, let us say, 250 to say 300. So in this way, as price goes up, the quantity offered for sale also goes up.
So I have a
This
question.
is what we, yeah.
Sir, like if we see the total revenue in the very first case,
Hmm.
so I guess it will be 4,000.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and for the second case, sir, it becomes the price jumps from 20 to 30. If we keep the
Hmm.
quantity offered for sales is 200 only, still we are making a
Hmm.
profit of around 2,000 there because the revenue
Okay.
comes around 6,000. So why
Okay.
are we increasing the number of quantity for sales, sir?
So
That was
if
my
you
question.
keep it at 200, then your total revenue is 6,000, right? But if you increase it to 250, your revenue goes up from 6,000 to 7,500.
7,500.
So which one
Yes,
will
sir.
you prefer?
So I will prefer the
Which one
second
you
one
will
only, but like, yeah, okay.
You will prefer 7,500, no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because the more, the better.
So, but in real world, like when we see very precious metals or any goods, they are actually limited in production. The amount of production done of those uh, expensive materials are pretty less. Don't you think so, sir?
So basically, catch here is
Yes,
we
sir.
are presuming that all other factors are constant, which means that cost of production is also constant.
Okay, okay.
So if everything is constant, then if I'm offered a higher price for my product, I'll be willing to sell more. Of
Yes.
course, this presumes that I can produce more. What if I cannot produce more?
Okay. So then, sir, we can increase
I'll
the
not
price.
be,
Yes.
we cannot be, prices keep increasing.
Yeah.
Even though I'll be willing to sell more, I'll still not be able to sell more simply because I cannot, because my production capacity is full. I cannot increase the production right now, but maybe I'll have to create another factory. So in the next 1 or 2 years, I'll be able to produce more, but not right now. So another assumption is that if price goes up, I'll be able to offer more or I can produce more. That's the point.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So this is the what we call relationship between supply and price. Now, if you plot this kind of a table or this kind of data in terms of a curve, what kind of a curve are you likely to get? A downward sloping curve or an upward sloping curve?
Upward sloping curve. sir.
Upward sloping curve.
Upward sloping curve.
Upward sloping
Why
curve.
is that so? Why is that so? Because let us say
Because both the
this is
quantities
Price
are
is
increasing.
increasing
Both the
and
quantities are
the
increasing.
quantity of sales also
so
increase.
one is
That's
going
why.
up, another is also going up, one is falling, another is also falling. So that is why we'll get an upward sloping curve. So let's see, this is the upward sloping curve. So first you have to only look at this one, S. This is the original supply curve. This is the original supply curve. What are we measuring along the y-axis? We are measuring price. What are we measuring along the x-axis? We are measuring quantity. So when price goes up, quantity also goes up. So in this figure, which we are calling the supply curve and labeled S in the figure, shows how the quantity of a good offered for sale changes as the price of the good changes. Now, one thing that you should be very cautious about is we are only saying the willingness of the supplier to supply more. Whether they will be able to sell more is a different thing. So willingness to sell more and actually being able to sell more are two different things. So what we are saying is if the price is P1, how many units will be offered for sale by the supplier? Q1. Whether they will actually be able to sell the entire quantity of Q1 or not is a different thing, because that also depends on another factor called demand, which we have not discussed so far. So basically, when price goes up, quantity supplied also goes up. The supply curve is upward sloping. Higher the price, more firms are able and willing to produce and sell. If production costs fall, I'll come to this in a short while from now. So basically, this is the supply curve. Now, what I'll request each one of you is to draw 2 or 3 different supply curves on a piece of paper. I hope each of you are having a piece of paper in front of you with a pen or a pencil. Okay, so what I'll ask you to do is to just draw with me. As I draw, you also draw. Are you ready? Shall I start?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there we go. This is P, this is Q, this is O. What does Q stand for? Quantity offered for sale. What does P stand for? Price at which those quantities are offered. If I draw a supply curve like this, which touches the vertical axis, at this point, let us say this is 10. This is S. Now you just tell me, what does the point on the y-axis where the supply curve is starting from tell us? What does 10 tell us?
So
The
it
told is
signifies
0.
that when the price was 10, yeah, go
The
ahead.
quantity. Okay. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, what
So
says is
it signifies that when the price was 10, no quantity was sold.
yeah. So no quantity was offered for sale if price is 10 rupees. What it also means is that somebody will be willing to offer something for sale only if
Prices are below 10.
Prices
No.
are greater than 10.
Prices are
Greater than 10.
more than 10.
At
More
price
than
where
10.
they make profit.
Yeah, no, it's not about profit right now. It's only about the minimum price at which they will be willing to offer for sale of their product. So at 10 rupees, they will not offer any unit for sale. But as soon as the price crosses 10, there will be some supply which will be offered. For example, suppose price is 20 rupees. How much will be offered for sale? Q1. So this is what this supply curve means. That this 10 rupees is the minimum price at which, sorry, up 10 rupees, no supply will be forthcoming. Only if the price is more than 10 rupees, then some supply will be forthcoming. This is one. Now, I'm removing this and drawing another one. So please draw with me. Again, here price, here quantity, and this is the supply curve. What is the difference between this supply curve and the earlier one?
Any price is acceptable above 0?
Yeah. So it means that if the price is positive, there will be some supply. Right?
Yes, sir.
So if the price is 10 rupees, how many units will be supplied? Q1 units will be supplied. If prices are higher than 10, say 20, how many units will be supplied? Q2 units will be supplied. So this is the second type of supply curve. I'm removing it and then I'll draw the third one. Now you draw the third one, which starts from the horizontal axis. I'm not drawing, you are drawing, right? So start the supply curve from the horizontal axis, S. So this is Q, this is P, this is 0. Let us say this is 10. What does this mean?
Free.
Up to 10 quantity goods, the services are free without any cost, and after that only the cost material things are to be sold.
Very good answer. Very good answer. So even if the price is 0, there will be some supply forthcoming in market. How many? 10 units. So for example, water. Water is free up to a certain quantity. Everybody will get water free of cost, provided they are ready to accept up to a certain limit. But if they want more water, then they will have to pay a price for it. Similarly, education. We all know that education in India up to what? Class 10th is free, right? But if you want education beyond class 10th, then you will have to pay. So that is what is an example of one. This supply curve is an example of product which we call merit goods. What kind of goods is this supply curve an example of? What kind
So
of
electricity
goods
in Delhi, which is up to some units, is free totally, and after that it is being charged. Can it be?
Is that so? Electricity is free up to a certain unit in Delhi. I'm not aware of it, but water, I suppose,
Yes, sir.
water up to some water.
Yes, sir. Electricity is free up to 300 units.
200 units. 200 units.
200 units it is free, sir.
Okay.
Sir, can
that's
scholarships
great.
be included into this?
Yeah, that's also an example of merit goods.
Sir, income tax
Scholarship.
also.
Yes, sir.
Sir, income tax also. Income tax also. We can
No,
include
no,
that.
not income tax.
Because
So
that is also
public,
free up
Not
to
is public libraries and museums?
Public libraries and museums. Good example. Public libraries and museums where you can go and read books up to a certain quantity. So these goods which are provided free of cost by the public agencies, that is government, is called merit goods. Health, for example, in COVID-19 times, the government agencies, the government health agencies provide free COVID test facilities. And if you go for a private testing facility, then you will have to pay some price for it. Okay. So this is what I want to show. Then, it's not just the price on which the supply depends. There are so many other factors also. For example, one of the other factors is cost of production. Cost of production. Let us call it C. What do you think will happen to the offer for sale when cost of production increases, but other things remain same? Will the supply go up? Will the supply fall as a result of increase in cost? It will increase because of increase in input prices. What will happen?
If increase in cost
will lower the supply.
If the cost goes up, then supply will fall, other things remaining constant. Why? Just to give you an example, suppose these are the various costs. This is the price, this is the quantity. Cost is 10 rupees, price is 12 rupees, quantity is 100. What does this mean? That cost of production is 10 rupees per unit. You are selling your product at 12 rupees per unit. And how many quantity are you offering for sale? 100 units. Now suppose cost goes up from 10 rupees to 15 rupees, but all other factors remain the same. That is, this price remains the same, 12 rupees. Now will you offer more quantity for sale in the market or less quantity for sale in the market?
Less quantity in sale in the market.
Less.
Because the less you sell, the less is your loss. Because earlier you were earning a profit of 2 rupees. Now for each unit that you are selling, you are incurring a loss of 3 rupees, minus 3 rupees. So if price remains the same, but your cost of production goes up, then what will you do? You will probably reduce the price, reduce the quantity offered for sale. Take its opposite. What if your cost of production per unit falls from 10 rupees to 8 rupees? What will happen? Price.
So supply will increase.
Supply will increase.
Supply will increase.
Supply will increase.
Supply will increase. One more thing, very, very carefully you should listen to it. Suppose price is still 12 and your cost has fallen from 10 to 8, then at the same price, you will offer more for sale, isn't it? Let us say you will offer 150 units. Price is same, that is 12 rupees, but you are offering more, from 100 rupees, from 100 units to 150 units. From 100 units, you are offering how many? 150 units. So you are offering 150 units. Price is still same, 12. Previously, you were 100 units. How many units are you offering? 150. What does it means? That you will offer more quantities for sale in the market, even if the price is the same. And that is what we have shown in this diagram, that your price is still P1. Earlier you were selling Q1, but now you are offering Q2. So in order to show that you are now offering more quantities for sale in the market, even though the price has remained the same, you will have to shift the supply curve rightwards. This arrow shows the direction of the shift. So the curve has shifted from S to S dash, which is a rightward shift, which simply means that price has remained the same, but you have offered more quantity for sale in the market by Q1, Q2. Is this clear? Is this clear? Or shall I repeat?
Yes,
Can
yes.
you repeat once more?
Okay, so what we are saying is, so let me just remove this clear. Now, what we are saying is that if for some reason the producers are willing to offer more quantities for sale in the market, even though the price has remained the same, then you will have to shift the supply curve to its right. So this is the new supply curve. This is the new supply curve, which has shifted to the right. What is the significance of this shift? The significance of this shift is that even though the price has not changed, it has remained P1, but the total quantities offered for sale has gone up from Q1 to Q2. When is this likely to happen? This is likely to happen when it becomes more profitable to sell at the same price. So when does it become more profitable to sell at the same price? It becomes more
Better
profitable.
technology.
Like technology. So if your technology improves and you are able to reduce the costs, then you will be willing to sell more because you will earn more profits. So technology,
Less labor cost.
input costs, productivity of
Storage
labor,
cost.
all,
So storage cost.
yeah, storage costs, all kinds of costs, costs fall. And if the prices at which you can sell your product remains the same, then you will be willing to sell more. That is the major point that I wanted to emphasize. So just remember this thing. There are 2 points. One is traveling up or down along the original curve. This one. When you travel up or down along the original supply curve, then you are allowing only one variable to change, and that is price. All other factors are constant. But then price remains the same, but other factors change like cost or technology, then the supply curve will shift. So it can shift to its right or it can shift to its left also. For example, the supply curve may shift to its left. They call it S double dash. So this time we will show the direction of the shift as this one, leftward shift. What will this leftward shift in the supply curve indicate?
Less quantity is being sold at the
Decrease
same
in
price.
supply.
You will sell less at the same price. You will sell less at the same price because it has become less profitable to sell. So when will it become less profitable? When your cost goes up. Your cost may go up because labor productivity may have fallen, your technology may have degraded, your input costs may have gone up. So these are some of the reasons why your profitability may have suffered. So basically, just remember this. Can you write down something which I'm saying? You have a piece of pen. You just write and you do it absolutely the way I'm saying it. Okay, just write this down. Movement along the supply curve assumes movement along the supply curve assumes that only one factor price of the product is allowed to change. Is allowed to change. Due to which quantity supplied changes. Due to which quantity supplied changes. Full stop. When a factor other than the price of the product, when a factor other than the price of the product, and under brackets, for example, input costs, technology, labor productivity, price expectations, bracket closed. So when factors other than price change, so after bracket you are writing change, and supply curve shifts. Then the supply curve shifts. Either it's left or to its right. Either to its left or to its right. So symbolically, this is how. So it's, now you don't have to write. So symbolically, this is how we can say supply is a function of price of the product, input cost, labor productivity, technology, price expectations, etc. So what we do is, when we only look at the relationship between supply and price, keeping all other factors constant, then we have what we call supply curve. Then we have a supply curve like this one, where all other factors like cost, labor productivity, technology, expected prices, they are all constant. But when one of these four factors or all these factors change, then the supply curve shifts either to its right or to its left. For example, if cost falls, other factors, that is PE, T, LP, and P remain constant, then the supply curve will shift to its right. If cost goes up, the supply curve will shift to its left. If labor productivity goes up, the supply curve will shift to its right. If labor productivity falls, the supply curve will shift to its left. If technology improves, it will shift to its right. Otherwise, it will shift to its left. If expectations about the prices change, then also the supply curve will shift. Can anyone tell me something? Price expectation? What is that? Yeah.
Sir, what does LP denote?
Labor productivity.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Anyone who knows or who can say something about the last factor, that is P, expected prices?
Sir.
Yeah.
Sir, price
Sir, if the
expectations are high in the
if
near
the
future.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so so if the price expectations are high in the near future, then the current supply will be low and the future supply will be high,
Very
and
good.
vice versa.
Why will that be so?
Sorry, sir.
And why will that be so?
So from a supplier's perspective, we will also he also always want to sell at a higher price. So if in the near future the price is he is expecting to rise, then he will stop supplying now, and or maybe in a lower quantity, and he'll supply more in the near future when price
Very good.
rises.
Yeah,
Sir, he
very
will
good.
hold more goods, sir, in order to earn higher
Yeah.
profits in the future.
Exactly. So this is what we call hoarding.
Yes,
So basically, whenever a supplier expects prices to go up in the near future, then in the hope that the prices will actually go up and will be able to sell more during those times and will be able to earn more profits, he will cut back on the supply in the present times or currently, will increase the supply once the prices go up. So that is how price expectations play a great role in everything connected with economics. So when price expectations change, what will happen to the supply curve? Supply curve will also shift. It will shift either to its left or to its right, depending on how expectations have changed. For example, if you expect prices to fall in the near future, what will you do? You will sell more today so that you can reduce your losses tomorrow. So in that case, your supply curve will shift to its right. Is this okay?
yes, sir.
Now, all these factors on which I have put a bar, all these factors on which I have put a bar are called shift factors. They are called shift factors. Why so? Why so?
Because of these factors only the curve shifts to its right or left. There are changes in the curve.
Yeah, very good. Because of these factors, the curve shifts either to its left or to its right. Right. So this is what is the supply curve. So what we have discussed so far can be shown again by means of a very simple functional form. It is a relationship between quantity supplied and price. Other variables that affect supply quantity that producers are willing to sell depends not only on the price they receive, but also on their production costs, including wages, interest charges, and the cost of raw materials. Then when production costs decrease, output increases. No matter what the market price happens to be, the entire supply curve thus shifts to the right. This is something which I've already discussed. Economists often use the phrase change in supply to refer to shifts in the supply curve. Now, this is something which I have not told you so far. Change in supply. Mark this one. Change in supply. So when supply changes because of shift, we call it change in supply. And while reserving a phrase change in the quantity supplied, mark the difference. One is change in supply, the other is change in the quantity supplied. So what is the difference? Change in supply is reserved for shift in the supply curve, whereas change in the quantity supplied applies to movements along the supply curve. Is that clear? So
Yes, sir.
when you move along the supply curve, what is it? It is change in the quantity supplied. But when you move off it, that is when the supply curve shifts, then it is called change in supply. So you can write it something like this. If supply curve shifts, then what do we call? change in supply. And when you have the same supply curve and you are moving along the curve, movement along the curve, then it is called change in quantity supplied. This is just the term which we use in economics. Of course, supply is changing in both cases, but in one case we call it change in supply, and in the other case we call it change in quantity supplied. Any question? Okay. Next, the demand curve. Just as the supply curve, we have something called the demand curve. Now, first, what is demand? Demand basically means willingness to buy something and ability to buy something. Ability to buy. You may be willing to buy an aeroplane, but you may not have the ability to buy. In that case, your willingness will not qualify as demand. Similarly, you may have the ability to buy an aircraft, but you are not willing to buy. Again, that cannot qualify as demand. So what qualifies as demand? When you have both willingness to buy and ability to purchase. For example, if you have money to buy an aircraft and you are also willing to buy an aircraft, then that will be called demand for aircraft. So this is what we have written here. Relationship between quantity of good consumers are willing to buy and the price of the good. Right? Just as we showed relationship between price and quantity supplied, we will show relationship between quantity demanded and price. Also in terms of an equation, this quantity demanded is a function of price. So what do you think will happen if all other factors remain constant but price of the product goes up? Will the quantity demanded fall or will it go up?
So fall.
So it depends on the price, whether it is increasing or decreasing.
Yeah, that's what I said. If the price goes up, what will happen to the quantity demanded?
The quantity demanded will decrease.
The quantity demand will decrease.
Will decrease, will fall. And what if price falls?
Demand will increase.
It's inversely,
So it is
inversely proportional.
Yeah,
Sir.
it is just the opposite. It is just the opposite of supply. In supply, higher the price, higher the quantity supplied. Lower the price, lower the quantity supplied. In quantity demanded, higher the price, lower the quantity demanded, lower the price, higher the quantity demanded. But the qualification is that all other factors must remain the same. If other factors are also allowed to change, then you will find that this relationship is not holding. For example, you may have seen that even though prices of vegetables or fruits are going up, yet the demand for them is also going up. Why does that happen? That happens because other factors are not constant. They are also changing. So always remember that whenever we try to establish a relationship between two variables, then we automatically presume that all other factors which have an impact on the dependent variable are held constant. Is that clear? So this is the demand curve which slopes downwards, and then this is the demand curve which has shifted to the right. So again, the logic here follows the same way as that of supply. So the demand curve shows how the quantity of a good demand by consumers depends on price. The demand curve is downward sloping. Why is it downward sloping?
So because of its inverse, because it is inversely related to price.
Yeah.
Yeah, inversely related to price. Yeah, one goes up, another falls. One goes down, another goes up. So that is why it is downward sloping. But what is most important phrase? What is the most important thing?
All other variables should be kept constant.
Yeah, holding other things equal. That is the most important thing, because if you don't, then the downward sloping relationship will not hold. Say, for example, income is a very important determinant of demand. Now, if price goes up, but simultaneously your income also goes up, will you ask for less of it?
No, sir.
You may
Demand
not.
will increase.
Yeah, demand may increase because your income has also gone up. So consumers will want to purchase more of a good as its price goes down, as its price goes down. So basically, we will also ask this question: कि ऐसा क्यों होता है? Why do we buy more when price is less? Why do we buy less when price is more? That is another question. So we will come to that in a short while from now. So again, there are two terms. One is quantity demanded, rather change in quantity demanded, and the other is change in demand. Change in demand. So when will you refer to change in quantity demanded, and when will you refer to change in demand?
So when the curve moves along the curve, its movement is downward or upward, then it's called change in quantity demanded. And the demand curve, when shifts due to other factors other than price, then it is called change in demand.
Change in demand. Very good answer. Then it is called change in demand. So excellent answer. Now, so just let us read this out. The quantity demanded may also depend on other variables such as income, the weather, and prices of other goods. Say, for example, there are two kinds of other goods. One is called substitute goods and the other is called the complementary goods. Can you give an example of a substitute good?
Yes, sir. Substitute good like a Colgate is a paste, and the Dant Kanti is a substitute of it.
Okay, so paste, powder, paste, toothpaste and tooth powder. Okay, or toothpaste of one brand with another brand. Then tea and coffee.
So tea and
coffee can be another substitute. Now, suppose we are talking about demand for tea. That is the original quantity which we are talking about, demand for tea. When price of tea goes up, the demand for tea will fall, isn't it? Quantity demanded for tea will fall. But what will happen to the quantity demanded for tea if price of coffee goes up? Not price of tea. Price of tea remains the same, 10 rupees per cup. Let us say price of tea is still 10 rupees per cup. But price of coffee goes up from 30 rupees to 40 rupees per cup. What will be the impact on tea?
Demand of
Then,
tea
sir,
would increase. Demand of tea would increase.
Demand for tea will increase because
demand of tea will increase.
Why?
Because coffee has become costlier.
So because the cost of coffee is
tea is more affordable than
so
coffee.
the coffee is demand and as a result, demand of tea will rise.
Because some people who
Because as comparing coffee's price will increase and the tea price will comparatively be less.
Yeah. So because now
people will shift from drinking coffee to tea.
People will shift from drinking coffee to drinking tea because they can no longer afford to buy coffee because the price has gone up, isn't it? So that is one thing. Then there are also things called complementary goods. Can you cite an example of complementary goods?
So bread and butter, car and petrol, goods which are used together.
Petrol and diesel.
So say computers and softwares, they are examples of complementary goods. You cannot use one without the other. So in that sense, the example of bread and butter may not be a very correct example because butter without bread, you can eat bread without butter, but you cannot use a computer without a software, and you cannot use a software without a hardware, without a petrol and car, etc. So suppose we are talking about demand for car. What will happen to demand for car if price of petrol goes up?
It will reduce, the demand will reduce.
Demand should fall if other factors are constant, isn't it? So these are called shift factors. So when shift factors change, then the demand curve shifts either to its right or to its left. I hope you have understood this point clearly. Okay.
Yes, sir.
This is
Yes,
just
sir.
shifting the demand curve. If the market price were held constant, we would expect to see an increase in the quantity demanded as a result of consumers' higher income. Because this increase would occur no matter what the market price, the result would be a shift to the right of the entire demand curve. So basically, again, we can write something like this. Quantity demanded is a function of many factors, x1, x2, x3, x4, x5. If all other factors other than x1 are kept constant, then we have what we call the law of demand. The law of demand, which says all other factors constant, higher the price, lower the quantity demanded, lower the price, higher the quantity demanded. But if other factors change, the demand curve will shift. And that is why we call it shift factors. So the demand curve will either shift to its right or to its left. Just as we noted this thing, change in demand and change in supply, we will call it change in demand. Similarly, we will also call something change in quantity demanded. Quantity demanded. So when will we call it change in demand? When other factors are changing. When we will call it change in quantity demanded? When only price is changing. Okay. So shifting the demand curve can be a consequence of change in the price of substitutes. Two goods for which an increase in the price of one leads to an increase in the quantity demanded of another. Complements two goods for which an increase in the price of one leads to decrease in the quantity demanded for the other. So the next class, we will discuss the market mechanism, and we will stop our discussion today at this point. But in the next class, that will be on, I suppose, Thursday, we will take up this market mechanism. Thank you very much. That's it.
So attendance?
Yeah, I'll take attendance. If you have any question, you can ask.
Yes, sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
Based on supply.
Okay.
So, sir, you have talked about the various patterns of supply curve. So, is it possible that supply curve emerges from the y-axis? And if it is, then what does it indicate?
If supply curve emerges from
y-axis.
x-axis, from y-axis. Yeah, if supply curve starts from y-axis, it means we are referring to normal goods, which means they are not merit goods. It means that you cannot get a product for free in the market. You'll have to pay a certain price for the product before which you, otherwise you will not get it. That's what it means. If it starts from the y-axis, I mean. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Or shall I show it to you once?
Okay, so show me if you allow.
Okay. Just hold on. Okay. So I'll again do this thing. Okay. So suppose you have a supply curve like this. This is the price. This is the quantity supplied. And it starts from the y-axis. This is the supply curve. This is 10. Okay. So what does it mean?
Hello.
So I think you are stuck.
So your voice is not audible. So has left the meeting.
Yeah, I think so.
Am I back?
Yes, sir. You are.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Power had gone off. Okay, so I was presenting my screen to answer your question. Just a moment. I'll go back to it in a while. Okay, so what I was saying is this, that if you have a supply curve which starts from the vertical axis, which is the price axis, then what it means is that you will have to pay at least some price. Otherwise, you will not get that product. Nobody will supply a product unless the supplier gets a minimum price, and the minimum price is 10 rupees. In fact, it is not 10 rupees, slightly more than 10 rupees. But let us, for the sake of simplicity, say that the minimum supply price is 10 rupees. So unless the price is 10 rupees, you cannot get it. But if the curve starts from zero, it means that any positive price will have some supply forthcoming in the market. And if it starts from the x-axis, it means that there will be some quantity supplied even if the price is zero. And that is what we call merit goods. That is what we call the merit goods. Is this clear, ma'am?
Yes, sir. This is clear. Just a small question again. The first curve
Yeah.
which you took that 10 rupees that curve is emerging from the y-axis. So can we infer that the quantity is zero but the price is 10? So how is it possible that if we are not supplying anything, then also the price is rupees 10?
Well, it's not interpreted in that way. It is not interpreted that way. That price is 10 and we are not supplying anything. We interpret it this way, that the price is anything up to 10, we will not supply any unit. We need at least something more than 10 rupees in order to make a supply. That is what it actually means. The way you are interpreting it is not the way we should interpret it. So we should first say, what is the minimum price that I must be willing to supply at? And that is minimum something more than 10 rupees.
Okay.
That's how we do it. Okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I have taken your attendance.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you can leave now. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sir, location,
you, sir.
right? Sir, when you will updating our attendance in the ERP portal?
It will take some more time because I have to first receive attendance from each one of you. I have my own records, and then I'll match it with what I received from you, and then after matching them, I'll upload it on the ERP.
So we can prepare our like PDF sort of thing. All of us of HR persons that
Excel, Lokesh.
Yeah, we have prepared the Excel sheet.
Can someone take the responsibility of collecting the attendance record from students and then consolidate everything in one place and send it to me?
Karamji.
Yes, sir. Sir, we have already created an Excel sheet for other subjects. We can use that same Excel sheet and we can take the attendance of each and every student and we'll present it before you.
So you first shared that Excel
ठीक कर दे
sheet
2
format
मिनट मेरे
with me.
अटेंडेंस वो कर दो
Sir, your voice is not
2 मिनट कर
audible.
Share the format of Excel sheet because actually I will need the records in a particular format. I don't know whether that meets my requirements or not.
Sure, sir. I'll send it to you today itself within a few minutes, and then you can tell me what changes you need. Okay,
Yeah,
sir.
and then all that I need is in the first column, you should write the name, first column roll number, second column name, and then from the third column onwards, the date on which my classes were held. Okay. Say for example, the first class was, let's say, was held on 20th of August. Let's say this is just for example, 20th of August, then 21st, then 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, and then if you are present, you just mark yourself present. Make it or maybe you can say 1, then 2, 3, 4. If you are attending all the classes, and if 7 classes have taken place so far, then your final score will be 7 out of 7 or 6 out of 7, something like that. Okay. So then I'll be able to match it with my record, and then I'll be able to upload it on the ERP. Fine.
Okay, sir. Right.
I was facing some network issues, sir. So I don't know if my you have taken my attendance or not, because many a times
Ma'am, don't worry about that. Ma'am, don't worry about that at all. You just give me whether you were present on that particular day or not. Okay.
sir. Thank you.
You just give me your version of the story, and I'll match it with myself. And if that doesn't match, then I'll let you know what to do. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Sir,
Thank
Saurabh
you.
this side.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Sir, could you please provide us with the last economics class recording? Like I think that we haven't received yet.
I think it was saved in someone else's Google Drive, and towards the end of the class, I had requested that boy to kindly transfer the owner